What's going on, everybody? My name is Mario. This is a channel all about amusement park type stuff, but mostly coasters. And today I thought it would be fun to do another expectations versus reality video, just like I did for my trip to Kings Island last year. This year I'm going to HersheyPark, which is a chocolate and candy themed amusement park in Hershey, Pennsylvania, that boasts 14 coasters and dozens of other rides. I've heard plenty of praise regarding HersheyPark as one of the best theme parks out there, so I'm really curious to compare my admittedly high expectations to the reality of my visit to the park. Let's go ahead and get things started with my favorite coaster at the park. And I'd have a hard time not picking Wildcat's Revenge. I love RMC so much. They have some of the smoothest rides out there, but most importantly, they have some of the wildest rides out there. Their coasters throw you around as much as possible, just as well, if not better, than any other coaster out there. And I'm really trying to avoid spoilers of the ride. I've watched minimal footage, so I'm really excited to just experience the coaster with minimal influence beforehand. Yeah, it was Wildcat's Revenge. Wildcat's Revenge just knocked my socks off. It blew me away. It was smooth and wild, just as expected. Even more wild than I expected, and it's even a contender for the best coaster I've been on. It is that good. Definitely think Wildcat's Revenge is the best coaster at HersheyPark. As far as my least favorite coaster goes, excluding Coco Cruiser because it is a kiddie coaster, although I do think that model of kiddie coaster is pretty darn bad. If I had to pick a ride, it would probably be Wild Mouse, not because I think it's going to be a bad ride at all. I've just been on 10 Wild Mouse coasters at this point, so it won't be particularly unique. It will just be the least exciting coaster I go on. No, very wrong. Wild Mouse was not the worst coaster. This was actually the best Wild Mouse coaster I've been on. You get off of the lift hill going so fast, almost none of the trim brakes engaged for us. It was an incredibly fun ride, even though I have been on a ton of Wild Mouse coasters. So I think I would have to go with Coco Cruiser. I don't think there's any other choice. I know it is a kiddie coaster. I don't think it's a good model of kiddie coaster because I think it's a little too aggressive for kids. But as far as rides that are meant for people that aren't children, there was not a bad coaster at this park. Now for my most anticipated coaster, that would have to be Sky Rush. I am actually very nervous to ride this coaster. I hear people all the time call it thigh crush. I hear the restraints are not the most comfortable, but I do hear that if you can get over that, the airtime is phenomenal. The overall ride experience is fast-paced and intense, and that sounds amazing. So I am scared to see if it is painful or not, but I am very excited to see how I personally feel about it, because I've heard so much from other people. I want to see for myself. How was it? Sky Rush was painful, and I loved it. I was able to overlook the discomfort because thankfully it ends pretty much as soon as the ride does, at least for me. And the airtime and positive G-forces, which I wasn't expecting those, as well as just the general craziness of the coaster, more than made up for the slight discomfort during the ride. So it's amazing, but it still definitely earns that nickname of Thigh Crush. But HersheyPark is much more than roller coasters, so what do I expect my favorite non-coaster to be? This Jolly Rancher spinning ride. I think it's a Zamperla Nebula Z. It may not end up being my favorite attraction. It doesn't look like the most thrilling thing in the world, but I have seen these for a while, never been on one. They look really wild. And then they also have a drop tower. So I guess I'm having a really hard time picking one. But let's see what my actual favorite non-coaster was. Definitely not Mixed. That was the only ride in the park that we actually disliked. It was boring, had uncomfortable headrests, and the ride cycle leaves you stranded up in the air, sitting in the sun for 5 minutes halfway through the ride. Hershey Triple Tower, even though it's technically 3 towers, so you could call it 3 rides, that was our favorite flat ride or flat rides in the park. They all offer a slightly different and unique experience. All of them are super fun, and I love drop towers, so I think this would definitely be my favorite non-coaster at HersheyPark. But Mixed was at least fun to look at. How about the best thing overall? And I'm a coaster enthusiast, so maybe this answer is a little bit basic, but I think the quality and quantity of coasters will be the best thing. There's almost no parks with 10 plus coasters where all of the coasters are good, but it seems like HersheyPark is the rare exception, so is it? Yes. Outside of the kiddie coaster, there wasn't a bad coaster. We had fun on all of them. Truly exceptional coasters there. The average quality of coaster at HersheyPark very high. It was even better than I expected, to be honest. And then this next category is very specific to HersheyPark, the best chocolate or candy thing. This is gonna be tough because there's so many, but the chocolatier restaurant definitely looks the most enticing to me. They have crazy candy-infused food, and then of course they also have chocolatey desserts. Absolutely my favorite chocolatey thing was the chocolatier. We only made it through our drinks, appetizer, and entree. We did not get to dessert, which is where you think the chocolate would shine the best, but the chocolatey drinks were actually delicious. The food was very high quality and well prepared and delicious. The chocolate was not just a gimmick, it was actually worked into any of the dishes that we had with chocolate. It was worked in very well. So again, I expected this to be great, but it was still even better than that. And then the penultimate category, just general expectations. I think HersheyPark will be a fantastic, well-rounded park with tons to do. I think it will be very hard to get bored, but I also do think it will be very busy and crowded. I'm going at the end of July, so I think there'll be lots of long waits. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong about that one. Future me? Okay, there were definitely plenty of waits, but almost every ride got people through relatively efficiently. The only downside to the large crowds and thus long waits was an unfortunate lack of shade in a lot of the queues. Not all of them, but about half of them, I would say. So it did get pretty toasty and I did get a little burnt, but that was one of only a couple of downsides to the park. On the positive side of things, as expected, HersheyPark certainly was well-rounded. It had days worth of things to do, and it easily became one of my favorite parks. One thing, however, that was completely unexpected is I did not know that they had free ride lockers. Some of the rides require that you put your belongings inside of a locker beforehand, but you do not have to pay for the locker, which is amazing, and I wish more parks would do the same. Last but not least, I thought I'd throw out an arbitrary number rating to sum up the whole experience at the park. I'm expecting HersheyPark to be an 8 out of 10, but after visiting, I actually think it is a 9 out of 10, and that rating is heavily being lifted by the quality of coasters being much better than I expected, and also a little bit from food, and a little bit of general atmosphere being better than I expected. The only things keeping it from being perfect, I'll show in the vlogs, but not a perfect park, but a very phenomenal park, very worthy of a 9 out of 10. And honestly, if they ironed out a couple of the kinks, it would be a perfect park. But thank you guys so much for watching. Go ahead and give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more content like this. And make sure to stay tuned for lots of HersheyPark content as well as other great stuff coming soon. And until next time, this is the end of the video.